Okay, the next question I want to answer is from Marcy, and it's a good one. She wants to know, what are my top 3 priorities that I would focus on if elected? Great question, Marcy, and I am very happy to answer it for you. So priority number 1 is absolutely going to be a focus on responsible development. In the past few years alone, since I've lived here certainly, we've seen warehouse proposal after warehouse proposal, many of them contentious, like the Vanderhoof Dock Ave proposal, which is currently being built as we speak, which was highly contentious for the residents in the area and also for Rockaway Township. There's the Weiss-Ogg expansion project, which was highly contentious for residents in Parsippany, which you can see on my website, the before and after picture. There are affordable housing developments going in all over town, including Mason Ridge, which in my opinion is sited in a terrible location. And that project will put in 96 luxury townhouse units to only 24 affordable units. By the way, we need to get to 277 affordable units in the next 10 years. So Mason Ridge, despite cutting down 20 acres of mature forest, will only get us not even 10% of the way towards that number. On top of that, we also have strange proposals like the 90-foot tall digital billboard being proposed at Fireman's Field near Indian Lake. That digital billboard proposal is strongly opposed by the public, as evidenced by the change.org proposal, which has hundreds of signatures in opposition of that project. And it is being heard by the zoning board right now in order to see if they'll gain a variance to put in this 90-foot tall billboard that will be digitally lit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think that Denville over the next 10 years is going to see an explosion in population and in development in general. And if the town doesn't handle the growth in a responsible way, it's going to severely impact residents' quality of life as well as our taxes. My priority would be to take my expertise, which in my career I have assisted developers in critical infrastructure projects, building them, siting them in environmentally responsible ways, and in cases where there are impacts to stakeholders, finding ways to mitigate those impacts so that you can alleviate some of the issues that residents or stakeholders have to deal with. Your question said you didn't want a theoretical response. So in terms of an actual item, I'm very interested in these projects that have a real ability to impact residents and that are strongly opposed. Right now, Denville doesn't have any special environmental protections. So I would be very interested in pushing forth some regulation that on these sorts of projects that have a high potential to impact stakeholders and have environmental impacts, we should force developers to do an environmental impact study, a local one, because certain projects like the billboard, there's no federal nexus and there's no state nexus that requires them to do actual environmental studies. So that's why you see these going through and those issues aren't really fleshed out or taken care of. As a town councilman, it'd be in my power to take a harder look at those sorts of projects, and that's something that I would be very interested in doing with support from the rest of the council. So my second priority is one that's kind of tied to all this development, and it's to take a real hard look and put a focus on building safer streets in Denville. So as we expect with the affordable housing projects and all this development coming through, we're going to have increased traffic. We're going to have increased Amazon trucks, increased UPS trucks, deliveries. We have the warehouses going in that are going to have increased 18-wheelers. And there's just going to be a lot more congestion in Denville. And that concerns me because right now our streets are not really designed with pedestrians in mind. I live in the Cedar Lake area in Ward 1 of Denville, and I'm a stroller dad. I have 2 young kids. I have a dog, so oftentimes I'm walking with a double stroller and a dog, and it's dangerous just to walk in our town. It absolutely is, and I'm not saying that here for shock effect. I think anybody that has children and and they ride off on their bikes, or they're walking through town in some of our lake communities, there are seriously dangerous intersections, seriously dangerous areas of town where the cars are a priority and pedestrians have never been a priority. I would love to take a look at some funding opportunities through the NJ Department of Transportation, or through federal funding to make the streets safer for residents. I would love to help town on that front. And my third priority absolutely has to be flooding. Now, if you've lived in Denville for any period of time, then you know that it is downtown Denville is fully developed in the 100-year floodplain. We have flooding events frequently. If we're lucky, it's just Gardner Field. If we're unlucky, it's the residents along the river that their houses are impacted. And if we're severely unlucky, like in 2011, Hurricane Irene, then it's the entirety of downtown Denville that gets impacted. One of the residents asked a specific question about flooding, so I'll have a detailed answer on the flooding issue. And again, I want to educate residents with these videos, so I do have I think a good understanding of the flooding issue and the Army Corps of Engineers study that was released just recently. So I'd like to give my perspective on that. But in general, I think that there hasn't been enough actual actionable solutions for the flooding in town. And the recent study done by the Army Corps of Engineers that Denville has signed off on and approved or supported anyway is really just a Band-Aid. It doesn't actually solve any of the flooding issues. So again, I'll have a detailed answer on the flooding issue, but that will 100% be one of my priorities when elected. And if I may, I'll give even a fourth priority when elected, and that is transparency. I hope you can see by the quality of these videos, by the effort that I put into them, by the honesty and the answers, the detailed answers, by the effort to educate, that a big priority for me is transparency and it's public education. There's a fourth one for you, Marcy. Thank you.